So Chris, tell us about your experience and your story. I know this is a difficult thing for you to talk about.
Yeah. Well, so I'll tell the story. I've not told it many times. I know that I need to protect names here, but this is a real story. This really happened to me when I was out in the field. So back in the day, I worked out in the park system, as you guys know, and I worked in facilities, and we would do maintenance at our buildings and then on the exterior buildings. But we did a lot of setup for events, for special events, and different things that would occur at this facility. And it is here in Greensboro, I'll say that. And we would come in incredibly early to do that. This morning, I'll never forget it. I drove in. It's probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. We would get started setting up really, really early. This facility, just great facility, had great opportunity to see different things. I remember seeing deer on my way in. It was kind of foggy that day. It was a little bit foggy, and it was kind of dark still because it was 5 in the morning. And pulled into my space, went into a building, and my job was to set up. So I met my partner there, and he and I started setting up tables and chairs for an event. And while we were doing that, we were talking, and out of my ear, I could hear somebody running down the hallway. And I was like, that's weird. First of all, who the heck is here with us at 5 something? Because we locked the doors behind us. And why, and we looked at each other, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go check it out. So I walked down the hall a little bit, and I looked, and there was really only a couple of rooms that somebody could have gone to, and I didn't see anything. I said, well, that's weird. And we kind of sloughed it off, because you hear noises, and you think, well, maybe it's the wind or something. So I walked back over, we started working again, heard it again, except this time it was much heavier. It was running. And I turned around and I looked, and we had doors that were very, very heavy, and under the doors were flaps, so they weren't the kind of doors that could swing open because of air. And it just started opening. And I was like, oh, well, definitely somebody's in here. So I ran down and I was like, hey, whoever's in here, I'm sorry you can't be in here right now. We're setting up for an event. You're going to need to come out. I looked around, nothing at all. Well, at this point, we're looking at each other, and it's pretty apparent that something is going on. So we start to walk back up the hallway, and all of a sudden something just blew by me. And I don't mean wind, I mean heavy steps. Something just went by me. And I heard jingling, like keys. We used to clip our keys on our belt, and that's what it sounded like. So at this point, we got it in our head that the rest of the staff was messing with us, even though we thought we were the only ones there. So we run back down the hall, we follow the sound. We went into a set of restrooms where the door opened and slammed. So we figured somebody's messing with us, right? So we go in, and I sort of push the door. My partner says, hey, let's scare whoever it is since they're messing with us. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be good. And so we sort of sneak our way in the store, or in the bathroom, the door is closed to the stall. And, you don't see anybody in there, so we figured they were hiding. So we got the idea we were just going to go bust the stall door open and scare whoever it was. So we sneak in, and we just bust the door open. There was nobody. But honest to goodness, somebody started whispering to us, and then somebody else started whispering to us, and we heard multiple voices. Now at this point, if this is a setup or a joke, it's pretty elaborate. And I can assure you, I started to get a little bit concerned. We started looking at each other. And we made our way to that door, and the door opened and slammed on us. At this point, we started pushing each other to get out of the room. Literally. We're pushing each other to get out of the room. We start running back down the hall. And I said, man, stop. This doesn't make sense. Somehow or another, somebody has gone to a lot of trouble to get us. He said, yeah. I said, I got it. I know what we'll do. We'll set the alarm. So what I did was I set an internal alarm to have a motion sensor on. And so we went to our panel and we set it up. And you're still hearing this whole time somebody's running back and forth with jingling, and you keep hearing it like keys. And I thought, well, it's got to be somebody's piping that in from somewhere. It's got to be something. So I set the alarm so I could catch whoever it was. And I did. And it started at the bathroom. And then it went to the next room. And then it went to the room beside that. And it went to the room beside that. And then it started coming from the opposite end, from where the door had opened previously. And it went to the room beside that, and the room beside that. And all of a sudden, we started hearing voices, jingling, noises at it. Anywhere you could think of. At this point, we're both shaking. We are so nervous. And my buddy pokes me and goes, look out there and see who it is. I said, you look out there. He said, I'm not looking out there. I'm not moving from this spot ever again. I said, all right, I'll look. I looked. There was nothing. All of a sudden, the convergence of the motion detectors, seeing everything come up the hall, was right where we were. But there was nobody there. The alarm starts going off. It goes berserk. It was crazy. All the noises, everything. We're standing there scared to death, and then it just stops. Silence. We looked at each other, and I said, well, I don't know about you. I'm going to pretend like this just never happened. We went back to work. We were both shaking the whole time. About a week after that, I did surveillance for this place too because we had security issues. I got in one morning and I was reviewing surveillance tape. Back then it was VHS. I'm watching our closer, our staff person close. This is an older building. There's some really old photos hanging on the walls. And every time he'd walk down the hall, there was a light that was following him. And he clearly knew something was behind him because he kept turning around to see what it was. And when that happened, the light would go into a picture. And it would come right back out as soon as he turned around. About 2 hours after he closes, there's a place where we had taken down a wall from the original building. And there is no windows, no way for light infiltration. And I see what comes up out of the floor is a mist. It comes up out of the floor, it fans out, comes into the shape of a body, and then it goes right back in. I screamed. I'm not ashamed to say it. I screamed when I saw it. I called my supervisor, I called the staff, everybody screamed. We agreed to never show it again because it probably wouldn't be good for business if people saw it. But it was really interesting because there used to be a wall there. And we kept trying to debunk it and think of excuses and what could be. Put it out of my head. 2 weeks after that, I'm back in that original room setting up. I turn around and there's an older gentleman standing there in the hallway looking at me. I keep working. Finally, I turn around and I said, sir, can I help you with something? He doesn't answer me for a long time. And finally, he breaks his silence and he said, I was just looking at the room one more time. And I said, oh, you've been here before, have you? He said, yeah. He said, many, many years ago, my wife died in this room. And I just wanted to come back and see it one more time. Well, my partner and I looked at each other and we knew exactly what had happened. Needless to say, from then on, if we heard a little noise, we knew maybe what that was. But I got to tell you, from that day forward, I was much more cautious in that building. And there were many more things that happened, but that one took the cake. And that is the ghost story.